We'll do some shared screen, but we always try to be judicious with that so we can see each other and have good conversations. All of our documents are on our website if you need to access them. And just a reminder that this is a public meeting and will be recorded. And we welcome all of our guests to be able to observe and listen to our meeting. However, guests are not participants in the meeting unless you are formally on our agenda. So those are sort of our rules of the road, and we welcome everyone today. You should all have received an agenda, and I want to begin with a quick roll call vote, and we're going in alphabetical order. If that helps you pull off your mute button. Jason Abadili.
I am here.
Kim Hauk, I believe, is not going to be able to attend today. Kristen Henry.
Hello, I'm here.
Deborah Hoffine. Deb, are you here, Deborah?
Debbie's off today.
Yeah, I haven't seen her.
Okay, because she's on the agenda. Debbie Jenkins.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Willie Jones.
Good afternoon.
Kim Kelly. Teresa Cobelt.
Hi.
Pete Moore.
Hello.
Ivo Murnix.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Janet Stefan.
Good afternoon.
Bethany Toledo.
Hello.
Gary Tonks.
Yeah, I'm here, and David Lewis is driving.
Okay. Nate Turner let me know that he wasn't going to be able to be here today. He was at a conference. Jason Onstadt.
I'm here.
And Renee Wood also let me know that she wasn't going to be able to be here today. So we want to welcome everyone, and we'll go ahead and kick off the agenda by turning it over to Steve Beha.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Thanks, everyone, for being here. I know everybody's in different parts of the country today, so one of the advantages of having virtual meetings is we can still get together and talk, share ideas, have conversations. So appreciate it. I know we've got a lot on the agenda, a lot of updates, proposal to go over, and some more resources. So I don't want to take up too much time, but just to share my appreciation for everyone being here today. I think I will hand it over to Lori Stanfa from OACB. I know they have some exciting news to share with everyone. So Lori, I will hand it off to you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish I was in Miami with Pete and Debbie, but happy to be with all of you. We do have some very exciting news to share. Some of you are aware of, but for those that are not, as you recall, several months ago, a group of superintendents and opera members got together and came to us with a proposal regarding the use of the competency-based add-on to attempt to do some things related to the workforce crisis to help recruit and retain DSPs. Jason Umstad, who's on this group, was part of that effort. We've had further discussions since then over the course of the last couple of months. I want to pay particular thanks to Director Hauk for her leadership and for Clay Widener for his creativity in terms of the proposal that we finally have landed on and want to share with all of you today. This proposal takes what we had originally been discussing around the competency add-on to a whole new level. We believe it achieves the same objectives, only better. We get to the same destination of approximately $1 an hour in the hands of DSPs, but using a different vehicle to get there. And so I'm going to go over the key components of the proposal. I know I only have 10 minutes on the agenda. So, I'm going to go through very quickly, and then there'll be more information coming in the coming weeks. I want to caution you, though, and I promised Director Hauk I would do this, that this is still a proposal from the field, that she needs to, carry the water, if you will, to both the Department of Medicaid and the governor's office. She has had conversations with them about this. They are aware that we have been working on it, but there's no approval at all at this point. So we will be relying on her discussions the next several days to get this, to the finish line or across the finish line. So the proposal itself is relatively simple. Funds will be allocated to providers that opt in to this program, and they will be released to them in supplemental payments that are outside of the actual Medicaid rate. And those payments would be sent out to the providers on a quarterly basis. For providers of the following services, it'd be HPC, shared living, adult day, vocab, and non-medical transportation. And again, those are the services that have been selected because they have direct support professionals where we are struggling with the workforce. Both agencies and independent providers would be eligible to receive the payments. County boards of developmental disabilities have agreed to fund all of the match associated with these payments, and they will be invoiced quarterly, and then the payments would go out to the providers in accordance with this mechanism, if you will. The amount that a provider would be eligible to receive is 6.5% of that provider's billing during that previous quarter. So 6.5% in addition to the billing that's been submitted, they would be eligible to receive. Providers will either opt in to this or not. And if they opt in, they are willing to attest to in a Medicaid attestation that indeed the funds have been used in accordance with the verification tool that we are developing over the course of the next 2 weeks. That verification tool, there's a small work group that will be working on it. Some folks on this call, Jackie and part of this group, are on that small group. And we're hoping that they're going to lock themselves in a room for a day and come out with something that we can all agree to. And the reason why this is so important, and I'm going to be very candid, we had overwhelming support for this from our county boards and our superintendents. Overwhelming when we took a poll on Friday. But the expectation here was very, very clear. And that expectation is in exchange for the dollars, it's about $52 million a year that the boards will be putting up, that there will be clear accountability for all the funds that the boards put out, that the providers will verify were used to compensate their DSPs, whether it's through wages or bonuses, that all of the funds that go out will indeed go to that effort. So it's really quite essential that that verification tool be developed in short order and agreed to so that we can move forward with this. The beauty of this, kind of beyond what I've already talked about, is that because this is actually outside of the rates that are in our rules, we don't have to deal with DDP ranges, prior authorizations, CPTs, pause, all of that we would have had to do if we put it into our rates. Other states have done this. Clay has done the research in other states. We will need an Appendix K to be submitted in order to do this in the short term, and certainly in the long term, it would require waiver amendments. We, meaning the county boards, have committed to doing this with an understanding that we're going to reevaluate it about a year from now from two aspects. The first is whether or not it's been effective. We know $1 an hour isn't going to solve all of our problems, but we believe it goes a long way to showing our support and at least offering something between now and the next state budget. We will evaluate it for effectiveness, number one, as I just said, but also number two, to determine whether or not we were able to get any additional funds in the state budget that we are strongly advocating for. And if we're able to get those funds, then we would revisit this. In addition, we will be reevaluating it at the time of the waiver reimbursement redesign, which I know was supposed to be on the agenda today in terms of the RFP. Once that redesign is complete, and based on my previous experiences, that's about a 3-year project, we would reevaluate it again at that point in time. So with that said, I'm willing to open it up for any questions or discussion, Jackie, in terms of the agenda and whether or not anybody has anything they want to add. I know that the provider associations that are on this call are well aware of this, as we've been discussing it with them. And I believe that I at least touched base with you, Gary and David, from the ARC a couple of weeks ago to let you know this was in the works. But we're super pleased to be able to make this announcement today, and we hope that it will at least go a short way in attempting to deal with some of the issues we've been discussing in this group for almost the last year. So I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Lori. I also want to make sure we also had contributions and proposals along a similar vein that fed into this work group from Nate Turner. And so also just wanted to point that out in his leadership as well. So
yeah, I know he's en route on his way back from Baltimore right now from the self-determination conference. But I will be sure to touch base with both Nate and Renee personally to let them both know exactly where we are with this. And once I have an opportunity to do that in the next several days.
Thank you. Teresa has her hand up.
I actually think Pete put his hand up before me, but
I yield to Teresa.
Lori, I was just going to ask, so I was on a call with Renee the other day and several other Olmsted Task Force. There's clearly a huge concern among people with disabilities that this isn't maybe exactly a question for you alone, but that the administration, there's a concern that the administration is not working kind of collectively on this workforce crisis. And so that things that might be done in isolation within our system would have ripple effects to other systems. So I know you said that Kim will have to address that. Have you had any of those conversations to get a sense of maybe where some of the other trade organizations, or do you have any sense, I guess, of pushback, feedback from other?
Well, yeah, Teresa, we have concerns. I mean, I'm being honest. But Kim was given the green light to have these discussions, and she does have a meeting, I know, scheduled for tomorrow with Director Corcoran. So, we have talked quite a bit about whether or not we can or will need to do any additional advocacy with the administration to support this in terms of why we should be considered unique, why our dollars, are on the table for this outside of the other systems. We have had those conversations, and certainly in the coming days, if need be, we will develop an advocacy strategy if it's necessary. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. So I know I know she's not here, but I feel confident in saying that Renee would help with that. The words that she used on the call the other day, which aren't in a transcript, so I don't feel like I'm airing, is passive euthanasia. That's, I think the level of seriousness that, and you all are witnessing it too, but so I know she'd be on board, as other people on that call would be too, to help if you need it.
Absolutely. And Renee and I are in a regular texting, messaging basis these days, every day or two. So I would certainly use her to our advantage if need be. Thanks. Pete Moore.
Yeah, sorry for the background noise, but I just want to start by saying thank you to the county boards and the efforts of OACB to get this done. I think it's an important step, and I do want to stress for all of us that, as Lori said earlier, there's still a lot more work to be done. This is an important step in relief for providers, but we also have to consider, ICFs and how we're going to help them along as well, and how we're going to build up to that state budget proposal that we're going to have to be working on. So a crucial step, very thankful for it, and I'm excited to see what we're able to do. But, we have to continue to make the case that this is not going to fix our issues, but it's a crucial step and a commitment to begin to fix those issues. So I just want to remind everyone of that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. And as I know we've talked, you and I, I sold this as a stopgap measure, if you will, to our superintendents. I said to them, this is stopgap for now. This is so we can do something in 2022 and into 2023 before we get to the state budget. We are not letting the General Assembly off the hook in any way here. We're going to continue our strong collaboration with all of you, looking at Janet, Debbie, Pete Moore. I mean, we meet every Monday afternoon, and we've been working on this, and we will continue to do that. This is to get us at least through this year and into next year on at least perhaps a little better solid footing. So thanks for your support, Pete. Jason Deely.
Yeah, echoing what Pete said, I think it's important for any person on this call, whether they're participating or not, to understand that the workforce and the task force that's going to be putting together the verification methodology, which I think we all know is needed when you talk about public funding, we will be looking at the differences between independent and agency providers, small and large, and the administrative burden that it will take to do this, i.e. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I believe we will be trying to minimize that. The intent of this money from the County Board Association is to allow the direct care workforce to be offered a higher wage than the rates allow. We can't make this overcomplicated in verifying that an independent or agency provider is actually offering more than the rates allow. And so, for those of you who won't be at the table, only speaking for myself, but I'm pretty confident the entire group is going to be making sure that our effort is to simplify the verification process, because as Pete said, this is a tremendous offer. Hopefully it's consistent and it remains in place, but nonetheless, we've been asking for more assistance. Well, here's the assistance, so let's make sure we take advantage of it.
Thanks, Jason. And I know that you spoke with Adam yesterday, certainly about some of the details here. And I know Debbie Jenkins and both Pete's have also met with Adam to talk about it. And we understand there are nuances with the ICFs and those sorts of things. So we will, but I think we completely agree. We got to make sure that this is simple and yet gives us enough information that we feel, the funds have been accounted for. So thank you.
Anyone else have a question or a comment? I just want to thank everyone who worked on this. Different variations on this theme have been talked about a lot with this group. So to see it culminate this way is very impressive. And I know everyone is very thankful, recognizing it's not the total solution, but it's a positive step. So I just want to echo what everyone else said. Thank you to everyone on this call and others who've helped get this proposal as far as it is today.
Thank you.
All right, Rivo, you were going to give us a quick update on the crisis staffing portal that you presented on at our last meeting.
Yes, thank you, Jackie, for teeing that up. Just a quick follow-up. The portal for the ICF's crisis staffing went live on April 4th. There was communication from the department We've prominently posted that on our front page website for intermediate care facilities to access that information. On March 30th, Ann Wysant had presented to 75 ICF representatives on the process in the portal. To date, we have had 59 sites log in with their credentials that were sent to them. So that way, if something does come up, they can readily get in there. And I just want to acknowledge special thanks to the Department of Aging and Ann Wysant for working through this and making this happen on our end. So thank you.
Any questions for Rivo on this topic? Everybody's good? All right, we have a series of updates where we're cleaning up our action items from previous meetings. So I know Deborah wasn't able to be here. Steve, does anyone else have a quick update on the rate consultant, or do we save that for next time?
Yeah, I think Nyoka can give us a brief update on it.
Cool.
Hey, everyone. So I'm going to give you a quick update on the waiver reimbursement system modernization project. So we do have we're still considering a draft, but we're pretty finalized on the RFP. It will post yet in the month of April 22, and we should have our responses then due back based on the timelines with bids by the end of May 22. We're looking at the project then hopefully beginning sometime around mid-July of 22 with a hopefully target implementation date of either July 24 or no later than January of 25. So those are the timelines that we have laid out for that project. I don't come to these meetings very often, so have you guys already talked about the content and what this project would cover? So I assume that's been covered. Okay. Are there any questions?
I don't see any hands up or questions. Everybody's good? All right, Nyoka, thank you so much for joining us today to do that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Steve, you have an update on the direct support professional RFP that we discussed last time.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. So just a real quick update. We had to split it up into two different RFPs just because of the nature of some of the work that was going to be requested in it. So our goal is to have both of these out by the beginning of May. Nick's been working closely with the fiscal team to make sure that because of the way that they're split up, that they're in the right format and going through the right process. So once all that's finished, again, we hope to have these the 1st of May open and ready to be bid on. One will be specifically a training RFP. So that will result in a contract with somebody to provide training on recruiting and retention practices, best practices, some evidence-based practices around those topics. So that would be a contract. That one we are allocating $30,000 to for that specific one. And then the other one will be an RFP that will result, we hope, in multiple grants. That one will be $70,000, and that one we hope will elicit some creative proposals around all of the various aspects of supporting DSPs, either through their work at an agency or through recruiting and retention practices. I think we've talked about all of this in previous meetings, so I don't want to rehash all of it. But just to let you know that there will be two going out. It's the same total amount, but it will be separate RFPs going out in the 1st of May. So that's the update I have for everyone. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has about those.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure everyone on the call is cognizant about how far to go with asking when you might want to apply for something. So Thank you, Steve, for that update. Jeremiah, I believe you're on the call. You were also going to share some updates around different outreach efforts that were underway.
Yep. Thanks, Jackie. Hey, everyone. Just three updates. First, Ohio Shared Living. So the subgroup on that from Gary's proposal, I believe we met April 1st and looked over some revised documents. So we took a look at a 2-pager that the department had previously put out a few years ago, some of the website language, and then some of the videos that the department, again, a few years ago had produced around Ohio Shared Living. So revising those with a kind of special emphasis on plain language and making them more promotional in nature for people who might be interested in receiving or being a provider of the service. So, and then additionally, so we met as a group and had some good feedback. And then Kim Kelly was kind enough to take another look at some of the website language and put a increased, I guess I already used the word emphasis, but increased emphasis on making sure that the website in particular was plain language. So we're taking a look at those and hope to get those out here shortly. And then I know, Gary, we talked a little bit about the ARC doing a training perhaps when we have all that finished for families. I don't know if Gary or anybody else had anything to share on that, but.
Well, and we'll be meeting with some folks. Jeremiah, I haven't talked to you about this, but I've talked to Debbie and Nyoka some about it, that eventually we'll need to reopen the shared living rule and really take a deep dive into it. It's got some challenges, and we just need to take a deeper dive into the rule itself.
Yep. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I know those are going on. And so, the aim of this subgroup for everyone was to take a look at what we currently had out there, see what we could clean up and, create a little bit more promotion for those things, knowing that we needed to take a little bit of a longer look at the actual service. So that's the update there. Second, I think everybody's aware that the administration has been working collaboratively on doing a public service announcement related to direct service workers across kind of HHS agencies. So we've so ODH is leading the effort. It's an idea that came from us, but ODH is kind of leading the cross-agency work with the governor's office, and they've selected a vendor. And the vendor in mid-March, about a month ago, we met with the vendor as a group to look over some of their kind of mock-up drafts. And so we provided some feedback to them. So the vendor is working on that and then looking to go into production soon. We have not been shared any dates of, when that'll start or when they might have it complete. But we did share some feedback primarily around making sure that in their casting and in the materials that it was pretty evident that people with developmental disabilities were included, and that some of the scenarios that you might see would be really evident of things that DSPs typically do. So we're encouraged by that, but no definitive timeline, but it is something that's kind of in flight and that all the agencies are contributing towards. And then last, I don't have much of an update. I think last time it was that Renee and Nate shared a proposal around minimum wage. And so I just provided them some resources and information about their great self-advocates, but just a refresher, if I can be of any help of how to navigate the legislative process and what would go into that if they were to proceed with that. But those are my updates, Jackie. Thanks.
Okay. All right, and we can look to Nate and Renee then to see if they've move forward with legislative sponsorship or anything additional next time. Any questions for Jeremiah on those updates? All right, seeing none, thank you, Jeremiah. Bethany has a proposal that she would like to bring forward and share with all of you today. So Bethany, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Jackie. So good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you had a chance to review the proposal that Jackie sent out last week. I'll just touch on some highlights, and then I actually have a video. And Steve, I am going to have you cue up the video. It looks like I need to restart my computer in order for it to pick up the audio. So just a little bit of background about OADSP's relationship with the company that's offering us the opportunity to be a part of this docuseries. Back in 2021, OADSP launched a media platform called OADSP TV Plus, and it's essentially a free streaming service for DSPs, frontline supervisors, and other people that support them to find resources that include videos and downloadable resources. We're actually adding podcasts here in the next month or so. We've populated OADSP TV Plus with the content that we've generated from events and trainings over the last couple of years. And moving forward, we'll be creating specific content for the various channels that are on the platform. We're also going to be partnering with people like Dustin Watkins from Disability Cocoon, Christopher Milo, and some others to actually host their video content as well. Association TV, also known as Worker Bee TV, they are the company that we worked with to create that platform. And they reached out to me a couple of weeks ago with an opportunity to be a part of a series that they've created called Jobs of Tomorrow. So this is a series that they started working on at the end of last year, and they actually sold out seasons 1 and 2, and they're working on season 3 right now. So the opportunity is for us to be a part of season 3. And we would essentially have the opportunity to create a series of 6 episodes that is a part of a larger series of 24. And some examples of other industries that are doing this are, there's like a supply chain industry, and they're addressing like combating the workforce shortage, the impact of e-commerce, also automation in the job market. They have some other healthcare industries that are a part of this docuseries, and they're looking at the impact of 3D printing on reconstructive surgery, as well as virtual medicine, and the increasing demand for nurses. There's also a dental association that is looking at being a part of the series that will be season 3. So as a part of this, we would get 6 episodes, and each episode would come with a 30-minute commercial, a 3-minute micro-learning video, and then each episode would have a podcast that's made up from that audio footage, as well as some bonus content. And that bonus content would be 3 to 4 minute interviews with the experts and the featured guest of each episode. And they're estimating that that would be about 15 or so bonus interviews. And all of those assets would be ours. And then the big bonus is that this series is being marketed to big time streaming services such as Amazon Prime, Netflix, Tubi, and some others.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, sorry. Siri thought I said her name. So we have a sizzle reel that I'm going to have Steve play. And after we watch it, it's only about 2 minutes long. And then I'd like to find out what questions you have and what other information you would like to have. Again, this is something that I've only known about for 2 weeks, so I definitely don't have all of the answers, but I'm looking forward to going back to the company and learning some more.
What do you want to be when you grow up has plagued kids for generations, but career anxiety is now at an all-time high. As automation spreads through the American economy, experts say its impacts will be uneven. Kempler Industries looked at jobs, though, more likely to be taken over by automation.
Some of those dangers are imminent and they're technological, and the main one is robotics and artificial intelligence.
Between 2001 and 2013, personal assistant jobs in the UK has fallen by 45%. Other occupations such as library assistants and travel agents also saw huge declines.
There is this, in some cases, a hyperbolic discussion going on in the press, which has accelerated more recently.
Our country is on the road to becoming an automation nation.
When you talk about disruption, we can't ignore the fact that people in general will think, what's that going to do to my job?
Fear of automation, robotics, and AI, and that we're going to destroy tens of millions of jobs with these emerging technologies.
Imagine you could take the best person in your warehouse, and instead of 2 arms, they have 10 arms.
They ran it 6 days straight, 24 hours a day, lights out when everybody was gone.
The cost of human labor has been steadily escalating.
And they're constantly getting higher and higher expectations, have to drive their costs down.
We actually have kind of taken the opportunity to create a pipeline to new types of jobs.
We've developed curriculum for our employees to let them know that the hardware jobs of the past are going to go away, but the software jobs of the future are going to grow, and give them a curriculum that if they want to make the change, they can retrain themselves so they can compete for the jobs of the future.
So one of the biggest opportunities that I see with this is the ability to really create the narrative of what the future of our workforce will look like, or what we want it to look like, and then appeal to those people. Having the opportunity to create 6 different episodes lets us target different demographics through each episode. I would envision the episodes being able to stand on their own, but being very well connected to all of the others. So does anyone have any questions?
Gary has his hand up.
So the first thing I thought was, this seems contrary to our promotion of remote supports and assistive technology. All I would have to do is show this to a group of families who are already resistive to what I believe is a direction we need to move, and we've already decided to go there. I would be concerned ever showing this. It sounds like a union effort, to be real blunt, or an anti-assistive technology promotion.
And are you talking specifically about just the little sizzle reel that we just watched?
Yeah.
Okay, that is completely unrelated to what we would create. That is something that the company put together to give people an idea of what a commercial might look like for their episodes.
I guess it was a wrong commercial for this audience. My other question was, the criticism I'm getting of some of the training that's being done is I've got to pay for it, and I'm already low paid and I can't afford it. So would direct support staff have to pay to view this?
No, this really isn't about training for DSPs at all. It's really, if you just take, I don't know if you watched any, recent documentaries, it's really the idea of, the younger generations that get most of their content through streaming services. One of the stats that was shared with me is 73% of people that are on Netflix are watching documentaries. So it's an opportunity for us to tell our story and create the narrative. It's not the narrative that exists right now. It's what we want it to be. So it's really about educating people about our field.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying you could help craft the message. You could even have like an episode about how this fits with technology. So you're saying basically this group or the group that's on point with this can help craft the messages and the creative content?
Yes, yes. So there would
Yes.
be two teams that would work together. The company is out of Canada, and so I don't know if you have had a chance to review the proposal. The amount is listed in the proposal. It's $250,000, and that's actually a lot lower than what something like this would cost. It would usually be about 2 to 5 times that amount. And that's because in Canada, they have some funds so similar to like our ARPA funding. They have a grant from the government to employ people. And so this company actually is a part of that grant. So they would be employing a team of producers and writers and editors to do some of that work remotely. We would also have our own team here in Ohio that would follow DSPs and capture that footage and help develop the storyboarding for the project. So we would be intimately involved in all of those steps.
I see that Pete has his hand up, and then Willie.
Thanks, Bethany, for bringing this proposal. I think it's really interesting. And Jackie kind of got to my question. I just to kind of build on that is, obviously we want to make sure our field's portrayed in a positive light and attract people to it. So I hoping to have some, not me personally, but that we can have some, can support the effort, I guess, in other words, or have some sort of, or some level of editorial control, I guess. I don't know if that's possible, but that's just a thought I had. But I think it's an intriguing idea. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Yes, and so the nice thing about working with a company that's kind of an intermediary is that we're a client of theirs, so they're doing this for us, and they're not looking to do an expose on our field. They're looking to help us get our message out and to truly talk about the jobs of tomorrow.
Willie?
So Bethany, once all 6 episodes, right, it's a different piece. So will you have access to use that later? Examples of providers and county boards want to use that information to publicly share, or is it strictly just for whatever streaming channel gets it?
No, so the assets would be ours to use in our field how we want. The only restrictions would be if there is a contract with Netflix, we might not be able to go to Spectrum and say, hey, could you put this on, go to those local networks. So those would be the only restrictions. We have complete usage of it for colleges, high schools. I mean, we can give these assets, this media, share it with anyone.
Very good, thank you.
Teresa?
And Bethany, I'm sorry if I missed this. Do they also help then with kind of marketing or promotion to get the word out about the docuseries?
Yes, so they would be the ones they're the ones going to the over-the-top networks. So I know that last week they had a meeting with Tubi, which is a streaming service that I guess I've heard of it, but I've never, used it. So they do all of that. And there's no guarantee that they'll have any type of big contract, and we wouldn't make money off of any of that, but the assets are ours.
I guess I guess I assumed that they would be the one to pitch the series to Netflix or Tubi or whatever, but then beyond that, so say Netflix picks it up or Tubi picks it up, Hulu, whoever, do they help get the word out that it exists there? So whether that's through social media, whether that's I don't know about you all, everything that I subscribe to, I think I get an email from Netflix every week that tells me what I should watch based on what else I've watched on Netflix. Like, is that a marketing or a communication plan part of what they would do?
So I will have to ask them. I would think that it would be a part of the analytics that are built into whatever streaming service a person is using, so that it would pull up, like their recently viewed things and what they might want to view next. But that's a really good question.
Because even like demographics for age, those kinds of things, like I feel like I have this vague memory of some other conversation some of us on this call have had about something like this, that you could market to specific age ranges or even specific zip codes or something like that based on where needs were. So yeah, I'd be curious to know what kind of targeted marketing they could do or work with Tubi or whoever to do.
Another thing, so I had another proposal that I was going to present to this group, and I replaced it with this one because it was so similar. And it's kind of the last bullet point that I listed under the pros. Is we would have the ability to host public screenings and provide opportunities for local legislators to come and allow them to hear, from people, maybe have, panels. And I mean, that's something that would be, a little further in the future. But still, it kind of hits on some of the things that I think we could do ourselves, some boots on the ground efforts.
So Bethany, question, are you asking this group to support the effort? Are you proposing that this group find the funding for the effort? What is your ask for this group?
So I was interested in the feedback from this group and also on ideas for funding this effort. I mean, as far as I know, we don't have a checkbook that we can write a check. So whether that is Steve looking taking this and talking more with DODD about it, or whether you guys have some other thoughts. The timeline is pretty tight for it. We would have to sign on in order to be in the third the third season. We would have to sign on by the end of April, beginning of May. That's when the planning would start and filming would start, I believe, in June or July. And they would expect that our episodes would be ready the last quarter of this year, first quarter of next year.
I'm sorry, I thought somebody had their hand up and then I missed it. Kim?
Yeah. So would the DD Council be able to kick in any funding on this, do you think? I mean, if this was something that could be posted on the on the DOD website or even the ODM website, I would think that some of those monies could come from them, at least a small grant.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to reach out to Fatika and share this information and the proposal with her, and speak with Carolyn.
Teresa?
I think that'd be a good idea.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. I was just affirming that I think it would be a good idea to, explore that.
Teresa wanted to get in and then Gary.
I actually just forgot to put my hand down, but since you called on me, I will just say, Bethany, I love the idea. I'm actually a person who chose my career after reading a book about days in the life of social workers. It followed 52 social workers around for their typical day. And I said, that's the job I want, that I could have 52 different jobs, like get this degree and I could have 52 different jobs. And since most of you joke about how many different jobs I've had, you know that it worked for me. So I love the idea. And I do think there are people that would choose a job or be attracted to a field because of something like this. And I feel like there's a huge amount of momentum right now with Judy Human, Crip Camp. There's been a book that's come out recently. I think I shared it previously. I feel like it's a huge price tag. And so the unknown of the return on investment. And so I'm just wondering if we didn't do this particular docuseries with this particular group, I think some combination of or some thoughts around what it might look like to capture days in the lives of DSPs and what that looks like could be really powerful. It from my perspective, feels like a big amount of money, a big investment, without knowing a little bit more from them about return on investment or what all you get for that.
I have had some conversations with John Sophies about being a part, if we move forward with something like this, of being a part of the Ohio team. I think there are several people that are on this group that have worked with John to create some video content and things. And so, yeah, and prior to this opportunity coming up, John and I had been having very similar conversations. I think, Gary, I'm not sure if your hand is up for the second time or okay, yes.
It is. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm always supportive of promoting what we do. The timeline, that's not something that can be accomplished in 3 weeks. But again, my priority is changing what we're doing fundamentally. I mean, we can attract all the people we want through a promotion. We pay them $12.50 at most, or $13 an hour. They turn around and leave. So I want to stress that as the priority over making a decision that has to be signed in 3 weeks. So everything that Teresa just said, I echo. But trying to recruit staff for family members, it's the people that realize what we pay and what they don't get in benefits as much as anything. So those of us who are on this call are not doing direct support for a number of reasons. Primarily, we couldn't pay our electric bill and put our kids through college on those salaries. So until we deal with that, I'm not sure. We haven't had positive outcomes on any of the previous public relations things we've done. So I'm just concerned.
I definitely hear your concerns. I know we've talked many times about, multi-pronged approaches, and, things like this take a lot of time. And even though there's a tight timeline for this, we do have the opportunity to push it off and say, well, maybe we could be a part of season 4. But if we don't start having these conversations now, it will just never happen, and we'll kind of miss the boat. Especially right now. Sorry, go ahead, Gary.
Well, and every good salesman is going to tell you, sign on the dotted line in the next 2 weeks. So, if they're really worth their salt, they're gonna know that we need more time to look at it and see what's available elsewhere. I think they still try to sell you something. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just that's just a sales technique.
Other thoughts or questions that you'd like me to explore?
I think Willie's got his hand up.
So I don't disagree with Gary, but I will have a comment on that. But if I recall, wasn't there some ARPA funds set aside for the Workforce Crisis Task Force? So maybe that is a possible funding source, as well as DD Council. So maybe somebody from the department could look at that. And I agree with Gary, right? It's been an issue for years, our wages and benefits. On the same token, we still have a workforce. If it was that bad, we wouldn't have anybody doing the job, and we have some amazing people out there doing the job. We have vacancies and turnover, but we still have a workforce, and they're doing it for other reasons besides the money. So I think that's important, that we just keep realizing we have a workforce that's still doing the work, even with the pay and benefits that they have.
Just to answer your question about the ARPA funding, Willie, that's in a pot of funds that haven't been approved by the legislature or anything like that yet. So even if that were a possibility in 3 weeks' time, that just wouldn't be, feasible to even tap into. So I appreciate the question, but we don't have access to those funds yet.
So maybe, Bethany, it could be a contingency based, it's contingency based on approval of the legislature for the use of those funds. So at least you don't lose the slot and the opportunity.
Right, and that's what I think I neglected to say or didn't really convey that very well. It's not like we're signing a contract and we have to do this within 3 weeks. They need to be able to say like, okay, it's kind of reserved that's the plan. It would be probably, if I remember correctly, 3 to 4 months before any money would exchange hands, and you know what I mean, we would enter into something that would be formal. This is kind of leading up to that. And again, this is a company that I've been working with for the past 3 years to develop our platform. So I do, have a working relationship with them. And, I don't disagree, though, that it would be, I think it would be in our best interest to, just kind of price out some other things, take a look at, maybe I can sit down with John Sophies and a couple of others and look at what something might look like to do this on our own and, and weigh those benefits. And cons as well.
Kim?
So wouldn't this touch all agencies? And if so, the ARPA funds through the Ohio Department of Medicaid would probably have some more wiggle room than DOD's funds would. And I know that right now, Director Corcoran has made several presentations to several of the advocacy groups that I work with, and has discussed how, the progress that they're making with disseminating these funds and getting them approved by CMS. So perhaps that would be something that you would want to do, is contact someone at ODM to find out if there's any money available through there. But I think this is an excellent idea. And I know that money and benefits, we've been listening to this for almost 2.5 years now, and we're still chasing our tails. So we need to start thinking outside the box. This sounds like a very good first step to promoting the career field. And that is, this is a twofold process. Money and benefits, certainly. But if we don't let people know what's out there, we're never going to woo them into the field. And right now we have ICFs that are displacing people into other areas because they can't staff them. We have people in their home that are desperate for direct support professionals to come in and just help them fix a meal or bathe. We have people going into nursing homes because they've lost their aides. We've had people die because of it. And I'm sorry, but and I've been running a home care model for almost 29 years now. And I'm here to say that, we are tired of hearing about wages and benefits. Yes, it is majorly important, but it is also important that we promote this career field, that we make people feel good about doing it, and that we know, as Willie said, there's still a workforce out there, and they're not doing it for the pay or the benefits. And so I really feel that this group, how long have we been meeting? A year? And seriously, what has been done meat and potatoes wise that has grown this career field or brought people in? They're still leaving in droves.
Willie?
This kind of may tie back into what Jeremiah had mentioned, the PSAs with Ohio Means Jobs campaign. So maybe there is a connecting point there, as well as maybe some potential funding. So Bethany, maybe Jeremiah would be a contact for that.
So, Bethany, I don't know if the next step is to try to pursue this for season 3 and help everyone understand the actual flow of when a commitment has to be made, or if this is something that you want to do a little more exploration and come back and decide there is a season 3 window or a season 4 window, or as you described, another option where we sort of do it ourselves. How would you like the group to move forward, or what would you like the group to decide or give you more feedback on today?
I mean, I think that one thing that I can commit to doing is just taking a look at what we might be able to do on our own, knowing that, you know, we might not be able to, you know, really get the message out through channels like, you know, like the over-the-top networks and things like that. But I think it's worth looking into and having some price comparisons, you know, in terms of, you know, what it costs to film things like this and to really, you know, have that creative control, which is one of the things that's most appealing to me, is that we would have that. In terms of what I'm asking of the group or any other asks that I have, maybe just, you know, if you have any thoughts or questions after this, email them to me, and, you know, maybe we'll just touch base on it in May. And I'll look into funding and stuff as well. You know, reach out to Jeremiah and Fatika.
Bethany, this is Teresa. Just a quick idea. Somebody mentioned DD Council. It made me think this is not a crisis that's unique to Ohio. So I don't even know if like a multi-state DD councils would be interested in doing something. So it wouldn't necessarily be exclusively Ohio content, but maybe it's not all that different in Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania. You know, so if 4 DD councils wanted to go together to do something, I don't know if Carolyn, if that something like that has happened before, a shared resource.
And I believe there is a national association for the DD councils as well. And so maybe Carolyn, you know, and I could have a conversation about that. And I know that they help determine, you know, where funding goes.
So I hear people, a few concerns, but also some excitement, and you're going to do a little bit more exploration and probably continue the conversation next time. Is that an appropriate summation of where we're at?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for bringing it forward. Next on our agenda, Vic asked for a few minutes to share some information that he picked up at a CARF conference that sort of gives a perspective and might yield some ideas on our end as well. So, Vic?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I just came back from the CARF Surveyor Continuing Ed Conference, and CARF, of course, runs into the DSP situation all over the North America and actually all over the world anymore. And so they recently did a survey, and they presented the results and actually had a roundtable, and I thought it might be some information which would be good for this group as well. So if you had a chance to look at the survey results, they're really pretty simplistically organized. The first one about biggest challenges, the question was asked of all the agencies that participated are, you know, what are those things that are their challenges? Compensation, as you can see, is number one at 38%. Turnover retention was 19%, and competition was 19%. So very similar to the experiences that we're having here in Ohio. The rest of the things that were less than 10% or even 5%, so we didn't list them all. One of the questions that was asked was, what are they doing? What are you guys doing as an agency to deal with that? And half of the respondents said that they're rethinking everything in relation to onboarding, recruitment, retention, so forth. But surprisingly, 30% said that they're doing well, and they're making some adjustments and they're moving forward. So I can tell you from my own experiences, I've done about 30 surveys in the last 18 months, and of those, there's probably 25% that have been fully staffed or very close to fully staffed. And I usually find that that's the case for agencies that pay attention to workforce development stuff all the time. I mean, this is a long-term commitment for them. So they were thinking about it long before the pandemic hit on how to recruit, train, and keep people as well. And then the question was asked in the survey around what are the new approaches that they maybe utilizing social media and salary increase and bonuses. Both were 73% of the respondents said that they're now using social media for recruitment, when in past that wasn't the case. And they certainly are concerned about the wages that they pay. Good number, 53% were beefing up their employee recognition, flexible schedules. We heard stories about people who are really looking at how they schedule people to try to do that. Internships, 40% of the agencies had started internships to help with the recruitment. And then just the overall leadership development was about 40% increase as well. The roundtable folks shared some interesting comments, which I captured in the notes here, about how application response times have gone from days to hours and now to minutes. There's people who are calling people back as soon as they get an application. There were some national statistics that were thrown out that 95% of all text messages are opened, which is good, but only 17% are responded to. So that's not always a good way to reach respondents. And then 17% of emails are only opened and only 3% are responded to. One of the things was how they're promoting it, and Bethany's proposal she just brought forth kind of struck a chime here as well, because it's more about what DSPs get to do versus what do they have to do. You know, they can be engaged in people's lives, change people's lives, and those kinds of things. And there's a lot of agencies that are promoting and posting their positions differently as well. In regards to posting, they also mentioned that generally speaking, I'm not sure who did these national statistics, but it said that 50% of the general public only has an 8th grade reading level, and a lot of the job postings from agencies and so forth are written for college level reading levels. So that's not always a guarantee you're going to connect with the right people. And then the last comment on there was just about for workforce development folks, in addition to having recruitment plans, agencies are now starting to develop retention plans for all their staff. So some are, it's more formal than others, but there have been some success in actually making that part of the performance appraisal. Is, you know, what do you need to stay with us? You know, what is it that you want? So then they're looking at trends and those kinds of things that may apply to all the folks as well. So again, national statistics, but I think certainly have some applications here in Ohio as well. And hopefully it maybe rang a chime with a person or two. Any questions or comments? If not, thank you for the time. Thanks, Becky.
Thank you, Vic. I will, you know I'm supposed to just be neutral, but I would say with my communications background, one interesting thing, if I think about what you just said, Vic, and when I think about what Bethany just presented, is we sort of had a conversation where Bethany, we talked a lot about the 6 big episodes, but the truth is, out of those episodes can come those 30-second commercials and sound bites and other snippets that then relate to Instagram postings and other things that Vic just brought up. So I think as we think for next time, it's, being thoughtful about what does it yield beyond potentially the 6 big episodes, because you have the creative content. So thank you for letting me make that little editorial comment, but I thought that sort of got lost. And when I heard you present, Vic, that sort of put a point on that for myself. Any other thoughts or comments before we move to round robin for anyone else who has any ideas or anything they want to report out on that's active or moving, or they want to get moving, requests for volunteers to help with something, etc. This is your moment, round robin time. Okay, hearing none, I know that thanks again at the beginning for seeing that serious movement on the add-on conversation that's been going on for a while, and we know they have some follow-up next steps, and the director has some follow-up next steps as well. Many of the other things throughout today's agenda have follow-up steps. So we will keep those on the to-do list and we'll keep updating them and pursuing them. And we know some of these are things the department does. And as you all know, many of them are things where different groups within this group are pursuing these things on a daily and weekly basis. So thank you for all of those efforts. Steve, on behalf of the director, let me throw it back to you for any final comments for the day.
Thanks, Jackie. And again, thank you everyone for taking the time today, presenting proposals, listening to updates. Thank you to Lori for being our guest this morning, for presenting the retention payment proposal as well. So really appreciate everybody's attention to these matters and your input on them. Everything is moving forward, as slow as it may seem. I think when we put together that update document a few weeks back, there is movement and there are things that are happening, and it's because of some of the proposals that have come through this group. So really appreciate it. Appreciate all the conversation again today. Looking forward to seeing everybody back in May again. With that, I don't have anything else. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you all together on May 11th.